On September 25, 1980, Clifford Joseph Harris Jr., better known by his stage as T or Tip, was born in Atlanta, Georgia. T experienced a difficult upbringing in the Bankhead section of Atlanta, which was characterized by poverty and criminal activity. He got the nickname Tip, which was later styled as T to prevent confusion with rapper Q-Tip, when he started rapping at the age of 9 and dealing drugs as a teenager. His upbringing influenced his music, which frequently explores themes of adversity, aspiration, and salvation. T has been under public criticism for personal and family issues, but he is married to Tamika Tiny Cottle, and the two of them have 7 children. Trap music, a hip-hop style with roots in Southern street culture, gained popularity in the 2000s because to T, his first album, I'm Serious, was released in 2001 after he signed with Arista Records in 1999. It was a somewhat successful release. His breakout album, Trap Music 2003, had hits like Rubber Band Man and 24's. Subsequent albums, such as Andy vs. Tip 2007, Urban Legend 2004, and King 2006, cemented his reputation and brought him numerous Grammy wins and platinum certifications, including Best Rap Solo Performance for What You Know and Best Rap Sung Collaboration for My Love with Justin Timberlake. His discography consists of 13 mixtapes, 11 studio albums, and a large number of collaborations. In addition to being a musician, T is also an actor, ATL, Ant-Man, producer, and businessman. He founded Grand Hustle Records and made real estate and nightclub investments. Although he is still involved in industry, he hinted in 2024 that he might stop rapping to concentrate on other endeavors. First, the untimely death of Philin Johnson, an important turning point in T.I.'s life. After performing at the well-known music venue Bogarts, T and his group, which included Philin Johnson, arrived in Cincinnati, Ohio, on May 3, 2006. With his album, King topping charts and securing his position in hip-hop, T was riding the wave of his burgeoning fame when the night started with Celebration. The group continued the celebrations at a nearby nightclub, Club Ritz, after the performance. However, an altercation inside the club turned what had begun as a normal post-con gathering into a deadly one. Although specifics of the first altercation are still unknown, rumors indicate that a disagreement broke out between locals and members of T.I.'s entourage. As the situation worsened, T and his group, including Johnson, left the club to prevent more conflict. They were being followed by another car as they drove along Interstate 71 in 2 vans. In a terrifying change of events, T.I.'s vehicles were hit by a barrage of bullets from the chasing vehicle. Sitting in one of the cars, Philin Johnson was hit several times and left with fatal injuries. T, who was in a different van, barely avoided getting hurt, but another person in the group was hurt. A distraught friend and a heartbroken family were left behind when Johnson, a 26-year-old father and one of T's closest confidants, was declared dead at the scene. Understanding Philin Johnson's identity is crucial to appreciating the magnitude of this loss. Johnson was more than just a personal aide to T. He was an important member of T.I.'s inner circle, a brother in arms, and a reliable friend. Johnson, who was from Atlanta like T, had a connection to the rapper that sprang from their similar upbringings under difficult circumstances. Johnson was instrumental behind the scenes, handling logistics and offering steadfast support as T's career took off. He was invaluable because of his commitment and friendship, and his presence gave T.I.'s hectic existence in the music business a sense of stability. In addition to being a personal tragedy, Johnson's passing served as a sobering reminder of the perils that frequently come with celebrity, especially for musicians like T, whose songs captured the grim reality of living on the streets. Johnson's death from senseless violence highlighted how T's history and present are indistinguishable. The immediate aftermath of Johnson's death was a time of deep sorrow for T, as the very world he rapped about seemed to catch up with him in Cincinnati. In interviews and in his songs, many close to him acknowledged the profound emotional toll the loss took. Despite his public stoicism, T later talked about how Johnson's passing plagued him and fueled his sense of duty and shame. As the head of his group, Ty struggled with the knowledge that the events of the night were, if indirectly, caused by his notoriety and the conflicts it generated. Johnson did not add a layer of survivor's guilt to his grief, Despite the fact that he barely avoided the bullets, T's career was characterized by his ability to transform his suffering into art. His emotional anguish and dualism were mirrored in his 2007 album T vs. Tip, which was released just over a year after the tragedy. The tension between Tip, his street persona, and T, his growth objectives. A sense of the wounds caused by Johnson's passing may be heard in songs like Hurt and My Swag, which have an undercurrent of defiance and grief. Themes of betrayal, loss, and the price of achievement are frequently explored throughout T's songs, and Johnson's murder surely made these themes more prevalent in his writing. In addition to the emotional toll, Johnson's passing had important consequences for T.I.'s career in law. Significant media attention was paid to the incident. Some sites sensationalized the violence and questioned T.I.'s way of life. As a well-known hip-hop artist, T was criticized by people who saw the shooting as proof of the genre's exaltation of violence, a viewpoint he has continuously contested by highlighting the structural problems that give rise to such reality. Ty was going through a difficult time at the time of the incident. A year after Johnson's passing, in 2007, T was arrested for trying to buy illegal firearms. He later explained this action as a result of increased paranoia and a need to defend himself after the Cincinnati massacre. His career was derailed at its height by this arrest, which resulted in a federal jail sentence. Although Johnson's death had nothing to do with the guns case, the psychological effects of the 2006 tragedy probably influenced T.I.'s perspective as he made his way through an increasingly unfriendly world. The tragic death of Precious Harris, a sister's legacy in T's life, comes in second. T.I.'s adored older sister, Precious Harris, was killed in a car accident in Atlanta, Georgia, where they both grew up, on February 8, 2019. A severe asthma attack, which had long afflicted her health, set off the tragedy. The 66-year-old Harris reportedly crashed into a utility pole after losing control of her car during the assault. She suffered severe injuries in the collision and was taken to a neighboring hospital where she was sent to critical care. 1 week after the accident, on February 15, 2019, Precious Harris passed away from her injuries despite medical efforts. The Harris family was devastated by her death, especially T, who had always talked about his sister with respect and love. Its abruptness and the harsh irony of its cause added to the tragedy. Precious died of asthma, a treatable but unexpected illness, in a matter of seconds, leaving her family to deal with the shock of her passing. T saw the disaster as a reminder of life's frailty and the anguish of losing a loved one to uncontrollable circumstances. T's older sister was nothing compared to Precious Harris. She was a pillar of support, a matriarch, and a wellspring of knowledge. Precious, who was born in 1953, was much older than T, who was born in 1980, therefore she acted as both a sibling and a mentor in their relationship. The Harris family, who were raised in Atlanta's difficult Bankhead neighborhood, had to deal with institutional obstacles and financial difficulties, but Precious' fortitude and kindness kept them united. She was well known for her lively disposition, witty humor, and steadfast encouragement of her younger brother's aspirations. Although he had to deal with the dangers of life on the streets and early run-ins with the law, Precious's impact went beyond the family because she was well known to T's followers, because to her appearances on the reality TV program, T and Tiny, The Family Hustle. Precious's unabashed humor and affection for her family were highlighted in the V-Hone series, which followed T's life with his wife Tama Tiny Kodal and their kids. She was viewed by viewers as a sane voice who frequently gave T and his kids advice that was a mix of compassion and stern love. Fans who appreciated her genuineness, as well as those who knew her personally, felt a loss for her, as her appearance on the show won over viewers. Precious was a pillar of support for T, someone who knew him before he was famous and wealthy, and who helped him stay grounded in the face of celebrity pressure. Because of their different ages, she had seen his whole development from a gifted youngster rapping in Atlanta to a Grammy-winning performer with a worldwide following. Her admiration for his accomplishments was clear, but so was her determination to hold him responsible, a duty she carried out with poise and unwavering devotion. T shared his sorrow on social media after Precious Harris passed away, providing a unique window into the depths of his bereavement. Alongside pictures and videos of Precious, he posted a touching remembrance on Instagram, adding, "We love you dearly and will forever miss you until we meet again." Her contagious smile and the happiness she imparted to everyone around her were recorded in the post. T's remarks emphasize how close they were and that Precious was more than simply a sister, she was a confidant and a source of unwavering affection. T's public grief served as a memorial to Precious and a therapeutic release. He made sure that her legacy would endure by talking about her humor, strength, and function as a family anchor. In later interviews, T discussed how losing Precious made him face his own mortality and reassess his goals. The unexpectedness of his sister's death served as a reminder to him as a husband and father of 7 that it's important to treasure time spent with loved ones. The public aspect of the Harris family's tragedy added to their sadness. Supporting messages were shared by fans and other celebrities, including members of Atlanta's close-knit hip-hop community, who shared their sorrow with Ludacris and Monica. The abundance of love demonstrated Precious's influence as both T's sister and a cherished individual. T had to strike a careful balance between honoring his sister and dealing with his own suffering while navigating this loss in the spotlight. T's perspective and creative production were profoundly impacted by the passing of Precious Harris. T turned his sorrow into music in the months after she died, a habit that has long characterized his career. Although not specifically about Precious, his 2020 album, The Liber, has a contemplative tone with songs like Family Connect that delve into issues of loss, heritage, and familial ties. These songs demonstrate T.I.'s capacity to turn personal suffering into universal art, striking a chord with listeners who have gone through comparable traumas. Beyond music, T.I.'s dedication to philanthropy was strengthened by Precious's passing. T, a longtime supporter of Atlanta's marginalized neighborhoods, stepped up his efforts to give back through Harris Community Works, a nonprofit. In Precious's honor, he planned activities and projects that emphasized health awareness and assistance for families dealing with long-term conditions like asthma. By making a real difference and ensuring that his sister's spirit of community and compassion remains, T hopes to commemorate her legacy. T's personal relationships with his children and extended family were strengthened as a result of Precious's passing. Despite having a hectic career, the loss acted as a wake-up call, reminding him to put his loved ones first. His public talks on healing and mourning also sparked more general discussions about vulnerability, especially among Black males in the entertainment sector, where social pressures frequently prevent them from expressing their emotions honestly. By sharing his loss experience, T has contributed to the normalization of these conversations and given his sister's legacy a deeper meaning. Third, T.I.'s imprisonment and legal issues. A stormy period in a star's life. T was at the height of his career in October 2007. His reputation as a hip-hop powerhouse was cemented with his album King 2006, which received Grammy nominations and platinum certifications. But a shocking arrest that would change his life's trajectory eclipsed his achievements. The events leading up to the arrest were based on a combination of paranoia and the residual dangers of T.I.'s past, and on October 13, 2007, federal agents in Atlanta arrested T for trying to buy illegal firearms, including machine guns and silencers through a sting operation conducted by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. ATF almost avoided a horrific shooting in Cincinnati in 2006 that killed Philante Johnson, his personal assistant and close friend. T felt more vulnerable as a result of the trauma of this encounter and his background in Atlanta's dangerous Bankhead area. T tried to obtain weaponry through his bodyguard, who, unbeknownst to him, had turned into an ATF cooperating witness in order to defend himself and his group. A sting operation in a shopping center parking lot resulted from the bodyguard's treachery, and T was taken into custody just before his scheduled performance at the BET Hip Hop Awards. T faced harsh penalties after being charged with both unregistered firearm possession and felon in possession of a firearm because of past drug-related convictions. At first, federal prosecutors wanted a long prison term, but T.I.'s attorneys worked out a plea agreement. He entered a guilty plea in March 2008 and was sentenced to federal jail for 1 year and 1 day, 1,000 hours of community service, and a $100,000 fine. Until his detention started in May 2009, he was also under house arrest. Ty took seriously the agreement that he would use his platform to promote public welfare, which included educating young people about the risks of crime and violence. In December 2009, T was released to a halfway house after serving 7 months of his term at the Federal Correctional Institution in Forest City, Arkansas. He finished his sentence in March 2010. His freedom did not last long, though. During a traffic stop in Los Angeles on September 2010, T and his wife Tamia Tiny Kodal were taken into custody when police discovered marijuana and ecstasy in their car. Charges of drug possession resulted from an unlawful U-turn that led to the arrest, but a search later turned up the drugs. The conditions of T.I.'s probation from the 2007 guns case, which required rigorous adherence to drug-free life and routine testing, were broken by this occurrence. Federal officials immediately began to investigate the infraction, claiming that T had not adhered to the terms of his release. He was sentenced to an additional 11 months in jail when a federal judge revoked his probation in October 2010. In November 2010, T went back to the same facility in Arkansas, where he remained until August 2011, at which point he was once more released to a halfway home. Since T was just starting to re-establish his career, the 2010 arrest was very hurtful. His 2010 album No Mercy, which was published during this time, featured songs like I'm Back and Castle Walls that expressed defiance and reflection, reflecting the chaos of his court struggles. In contrast to his previous work, the album's economic performance was hampered by the arrest timing, which also hindered his capacity to market it. These encounters received constant media coverage, which frequently portrayed T as a representation of hip-hop's tense relationship with the police. His arrests were sensationalized by media outlets, who used them to support larger themes of crime and violence in rap music. Because of this close examination, T came under increased scrutiny for his choices and way of living. Some supporters stuck behind him, but others wondered if he would be able to break free from the seemingly never-ending cycle of legal issues. However, T.I.'s reaction to these difficulties demonstrated his tenacity. He wrote songs for his 2008 album Paper Trail, which became one of his most popular releases, and included hits like Whatever You Like and Live Your Life with Rihanna. While he was under house arrest, the reflective tone of the album, which addressed his legal issues and personal development, struck a chord with listeners and was praised by critics and certified double platinum. T's ability to produce art under duress showed that, despite the repercussions of his acts, he was determined to regain control of his story. The fourth is T.I.'s family and personal issues. Juggling private hardships and public scrutiny, T was featured on the Ladies Like Us podcast, which was presented by Nazan, Mandy, and Nadia Moham. In November 2019, T made comments about his then 18-year-old daughter, Deja Harris, during an open conversation about parenting that instantly infuriated many. He disclosed that, in order to verify Deja's virginity, he went with her to yearly gynecological examinations, making sure Herman was still whole. Though his remarks were widely viewed as intrusive, misogynistic, and a breach of his daughter's privacy, T presented the practice as a protective precaution based on his role as a father. The retaliation was quick and intense. Fans, feminists, and advocacy groups swarmed social media channels, especially X, with outrage, claiming that T.I.'s actions ignored Deja's autonomy and reinforced negative gender stereotypes. Experts in women's health commented, stating that having a hymen is not a sign of virginity and denouncing the practice as emotionally and medically pointless. The dispute also brought up more general issues with parental overreach, especially when it comes to Black families, where societal forces and cultural norms regarding control and protection might collide. In an oblique social media response, Deja wrote that she was taken aback and off guard by her father's public revelation. She subsequently acknowledged in interviews that she was upset and ashamed, underscoring the stress the episode had on their relationship. Ty first justified his remarks by characterizing them as a humorous exaggeration, but the constant criticism forced him to take the matter more seriously. He apologized for making the situation public and admitted the hurt his words caused Deja in a later episode of his reality show, T and Tiny Friends and Family Hustle. He later made an appearance on Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith, where he acknowledged going too far but explained that his intentions were protective. The event has long-term effects. It spurred a national dialogue about privacy, consent, and the challenges young women confront in the spotlight. For T, it was a humiliating experience that revealed the difficulties of raising a child in the spotlight. T, a father of 7, including 3 daughters, came under fire for applying a double standard because he did not make the same mistake with his sons. He was compelled by the scandal to examine his parenting style, which resulted in public apologies and attempts to regain Deja's trust. Even though it was said that it took some time for their relationship to mend, T.I.'s family and personal scandals provide insight into the difficulties of marriage, parenthood, and celebrity in the spotlight. The 2019 podcast episode, May T Face the Limits of Parental Power and the Significance of Honoring His Kids' Independence. Even though he was criticized for his first error, his readiness to offer an apology and participate in public debates about his errors demonstrated a dedication to personal development. The incident also demonstrated how social media can magnify personal mistakes, making it difficult for public individuals to handle their jobs more tactfully. Even if they are terrible, these conflicts have deepened T.I.'s story by highlighting the human side of a legendary figure. T.I.'s ability to grow from these setbacks and stay dedicated to his family and community while juggling his professional and personal lives highlights his lasting legacy. T.I.'s story is a tribute to the strength of development, responsibility, and love in the face of hardship in a society where celebrity magnifies both victories and failures.